My name is God Sanders, and I used to be a slave. My situation changed greatly in 1776, when America's revolt escalated into open revolution. I had always found the Patriots' cause to be the words of hypocrites. No taxation without representation was the mantra, their rallying cry. Yet so many of my African brothers and sisters would get no representation in their new country. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal was written into their Declaration of Independence. Was I not a man? Was I not entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? However, I took this as good news, as an opportunity to escape New Haven and the wretched labor of the plantation. This opportunity was to serve in the new Continental Army under Virginian General George Washington. As an ardent supporter of the Patriot cause, Mr. Gilbert had me and one other slave, Malcolm, volunteer with the Army as well as his Patriot son, Samuel and Daniel. I was eager at this chance because a recent decree of the Continental Congress stated that any man serving America would become a free man. I couldn't pass up an opportunity to become free, to live on my own accord. At first we all stationed together, but Malcolm and Samuel would eventually be sent into the South to serve in South Carolina against the British General Lord Cornwallis. I was, however, sent to the same regiment as Daniel. We had all followed General Washington into Valley Forge that winter to prepare for the cold. Smallpox was rampant throughout the countryside, and it was greatly affecting our camp. It seemed like at least a quarter of our men were getting sick from consumption, or smallpox, or dysentery. The smell of human filth and rot filled the nose of every breath. The morale was low, and men were whispering things. Many wanted to desert right then and there, while some wanted to outright mutiny General Washington. I kept to myself, though, knowing that I didn't want to risk my chance of freedom and cherished liberty. For 3 more weeks I suffered through these conditions. My clothes were torn, worn thin, and soaked through with mud and snow. Men who I had fought with for months, and that I had grown great comrades with, were dying around me from hunger and disease, but it was not the conditions which made me flee Valley Forge. It was Daniel. One cold, damp, and stormy Pennsylvania night, I was on patrol. After the standard 4-hour guard, I was returning to my cabin when I overheard Daniel speaking loudly, clearly drunk, to his cabin mate, Thomas Martin. His words were more thunderous than the storm outside. They were agreeing how blacks are inferior to whites and other lies like that. They hardly fazed me since I had grown up with that kind of prejudice. It was what Daniel said next, which caused me to desert the army. He yelled, "These stupid Negroes think that the Congress will have given their freedom. The Southern colonies would be in revolt if they ever allowed that. In fact, my father, who has friends in Philadelphia at the Congress, has been telling me that allowing them in the army, well, that's just because Washington needs more troops, not because of any moral inclinations. My slave, God Sanders, thinks he's gonna be free when the war is over. What a laugh that is. He's coming back to New Haven to be my slave." My heart stopped. My hands and my feet became cold with fear. What? This can't be true. What about the Congress? They promised. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that Daniel was right. I was always going to be a slave if I lived in America. Most of these delegates at the Congress, these great champions of freedom and liberty, were slave owners. Hell, Washington has hundreds of slaves on his plantations in Virginia. How could he ever give up that luxury and lose his livelihood? I had to escape Valley Forge. I had to escape these lands. I ran to my cabin, packed up all the provisions I could, and started to escape. I must have made too much of a commotion in my getaway, because a guard on horseback and 2 on foot began to catch up to me. I quickly darted into the forest and hid in some thickets. My heart was beating faster and faster. The patrol yelled, "Come on, Negro, we're gonna find you, don't think we won't." Let's check the Ghana East in the forest. I let out a sigh of relief as the footsteps were farther and farther away. I wasn't worried about the 40 lashes that I would have received if I was caught deserting. I couldn't go back. I would never be no man's slave again. Freedom is what I want and must keep. I thought of when they left and fled Valley Forge, trying to get to New York. I had heard of a British policy while serving in New Jersey of granting asylum to any loyalist blacks who had served the British in the war, and I never went for this opportunity. At this point, it could be weeks before I reached New York, and that was without any setbacks. On this treacherous path, I have to avoid slave traders who would love to sell a young black into slavery, soldiers looking to have fun punishing a coward Negro deserter and putting me back into my regiment with Daniel. I have to avoid these things because I must reach New York. I must shake off the chains of slavery. I must be free.